Hi, I'm Davern. I'm here to share my love for tennis with you and to help you be happier on the court. Today's video is about watching the professional tennis matches and how you can enjoy that a lot more and get more value out of doing that. So one of the main things that you want to try to think about is when you're watching the professional tennis matches, it is really not a good place to be trying to see how to do the strokes, because the movements they're doing in professional tennis for the high acceleration and power of the shot means that a lot of the things you see are happening a lot faster than the naked eye capability. So naked eye capability is roughly 25 to 30 frames per second vision, and the movements are 200 frames per second and up in the shots they're doing for all the points. So step one is, it's like an optical illusion. When you're looking at them, not good to try to think from what you see and guess on what you should be doing with all your shots. It's much better to totally forget about all the strokes and trying to see what they're doing with the shots, and instead focus on some really interesting things like the court positioning. So if you're watching the game and you're looking at it from a point of view of trying to understand more about who's winning and why, and then of course how you can utilize that in your own game, or when you're a coach and you're looking at things to use to help people to be better and improve, and especially in terms of winning more points and trying to work out why one player is winning and why another player is losing, then the court positioning is a really interesting one to look at. So when they're playing the points there, where they stand before they to serve even, there's a lot of variation in what they do, and if you're really looking for things, then you know what to look for. And same as in the return of serve, and then the difference in position between when somebody's going to hit a first serve and when somebody's going to hit a second serve, they're going to move around and do different things. So as an easy example, when somebody's serving and you have for example, Pat Rafter, the Australian tennis champion, is that when he was playing from the juice court side, then he would stand really close to the center service mark. So then it was much more open when he's going to serve, that the ball's going to go up the tee to a right-hander's backhand, and because he's so close to the center service mark, it's quite hard for him to work to get an angle out wide on the juice court. So then conversely, when he would go to the advantage court service side, the second side, and serve from left to right, he would stand a lot further away from the center service mark, because he was, by doing that, he increases the angle that he can serve out to the side. For example, to a right-hander's backhand. His famous kick serve that he was using to drag his opponent wide and get the ball up high on their backhand, and then do a serve and volley play to get the shot to try to put away on the next shot. By standing much further to his left, he would be able to open up that angle, which of course also meant that his serve, when he was from the advantage court, trying to go down the tee, then he would have not as much angle on that. He would be a lot more following to the receiver, instead of being able to cut it up the middle and make it move away from the forehand of the right-handed player as they were trying to get the ball. So where they stand is making a lot of difference on where can they serve and how much of the box do you need to cover. So these are important considerations. Then if we look at Pete Sampras, then he was doing the complete opposite of what Pat Rafter is doing. Is when he was serving from the first side, then he was always standing much further to his right of the center service mark, so that he could really use that short, angled, wide first serve to go really wide and draw the opponent far to the their right-hand side to their forehand, so that he was really open up the court, and a lot of times he was hitting the aces out on that side as well, or unreturnable serves, because he was getting such a great angle. Then when he would go to the advantage court service box on the left-hand side and do that, he was then really hugging or playing very close to the center service mark. So he really loved to bring the serve right up the tee on the second side, so it's really up towards the forehand side, but with a very straight on and a bit of slice, a bit of curve, so he could really draw the opponent right across to that corner to make it so that whenever he wanted to serve it out wide, that the person felt like they really had to cover a really large variety of where he could hit the ball. So then, of course, his serve was very effective because the receiver had to hedge their bets and try to stand in a place where they could feel like, hey, I've got to cover the really straight serve up the tee, and I've got to also cover his wide angle serve there. So there's a lot of room that I need to cover. So then they have to choose where to play so that they can try to best cover the shot and intercept the ball and try to get that return of serve. Same thing with the return of serve is when they're taking there, it's interesting to have a look at the positions that they'll stand. So for example, if you've got, like when Del Potro and Nadal were playing a couple of years back at Roland Garros in the semi-finals, Del Potro's strategy was to stand really far back behind the baseline. So, this was giving him plenty of time to return the Nadal serve, but the problem was that electing to do that meant that his chances to play aggressively and control the points and not get stuck rallying with Nadal in a battle of who's fitter and faster and running for the ball was very difficult, because from choosing and electing to serve so far back, that meant that it's going to be hard for him to get up and move inside the baseline and exert a lot of pressure on Nadal. So it became very much a really big rallying fest, which is great for Nadal when he's on the clay, and he's a lot better in doing that than pretty much everyone. So this is a big problem, because the first set, even though Del Potro had a lot of chances to do well, he got so worn out running so much, and Nadal got so much rhythm from having so much time to play the shot, that then as the second and third set hit, it was not very competitive. The scoreline was very one-sided, and Nadal was really comfortable with the rallies. So you've got to have a look at all these type of things. They're really interesting, where they stand and play from. For this is the serve and the return of serve. And then of course there's always, when we're watching the singles, is that where do they go? What do they do after they serve and move to? What are they looking for? Like a lot of the players are looking to do a first serve, and then they're trying to see if they can back away towards their backhand side to see if they can create a forehand on the second shot. So there's lots of things to look at there. Then of course after, when people are, the rally's going, is each time they hit a ball, when they hit it to a certain place in the court, where do they move to? And then you're looking at how far in comparison to the baseline are they behind, or are they up on it or in front of it? Where do they position based on where they shoot the ball? So, ideally when you're hitting the shots, you're trying to see if you can base yourself in a position that gives you a lot of options, and also gives you the ability to cut off the possible angles that the other person's hitting the shots at. So having a look at where players move to during rallies, given where the ball is and where they've just hit it, is a very interesting thing. Same as when players elect to do all different things, such as, again, that idea of if they're rallying and it's quite a common thing where people move all the way around their backhand and they play a forehand when the ball's coming towards their backhand. So then they're calling this the inside out, or the inside in, or the off forehand, or the hook forehand, where they're hitting a forehand inside out would be out from their backhand corner all the way out to the opposite side, or the inside in would be they move back to that corner and they're on the backhand corner, and then they go up the line with a little part of the court available to land in. Same with the off forehand is the same as the inside out, and the hook forehand is the same as the inside in. So when they choose to do this, and from which court position, how far away they're from the net, and how far away from the baseline, are they in front, are they behind, and how close are they towards the single sideline, the edge of the court area to land the ball in, or even further out from there. And when they choose to do this, and how successful are they on all these type of situations. So for example, Milos Raonic and Roger Federer had quite a few really close games where Federer was able to win in the end, and with Raonic playing really well. But there's some times where Raonic is trying to do this run around his backhand and his forehand move from too far to the right towards his backhand corner, as well as too far behind the baseline. So he's giving up a lot of space in court to go for a shot when he's quite far from Federer, and then Federer was able to bring the the ball into the opposite side that Raonic had moved himself away from and really exposed on his own side a number of times. Like I think I even studied one where it was about 13 times where Raonic did this in this type of depth and width, and Federer had won all the 13 points. So obviously when you're having a really close match, and a lot of times the number of points won is about half each or slightly more for the person who wins than the others, like 52% to 48%. If you've got something that you're doing and you're losing 13 out of 13 or even something lesser than that, if you're losing a really high percentage of points that's nowhere near the 50 to 52, 48 type ratio, then that's really costing you a lot in a match. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the pro tennis matches, the number of points won are quite similar, and you can even have situations where that happens where the person who lost the match actually won more points in total than the person who won the match. So when you see this type of patterns, these are definitely areas where you can really help people to improve by identifying where they're losing a lot of points from doing a particular thing with their court positioning and things like that. So of course, as well as the court positioning, will be the shot selection. So having a look at, when players are choosing to try to be aggressive and try to control the point, or trying to do approach shots, when they're serve and volleying. Same for the court positioning, you could watch when they go to the net, where do they position compared to where the approach shot goes, where do they position for volley. So also having a look at the shot selection of when do they choose to go to the net, and where do they try to aim the volley. All these type of things of seeing that when they choose to do certain shots, when will they go for a cross-court passing shot, when will they go down a line passing shot, or when do they try to lob it over their head, when do some of the players try to do a drop shot. All these things are the things you want to have a look at. So all this strategy, tactics, court coverage, court positioning and shot selections are really the really interesting things to watch when you're watching the game. Of course, also a really interesting thing to do is when you're watching the players is to try to pay a lot more attention to their body language and their facial expression, and that can often give you a lot of insight into what they look like they're thinking, or if they're looking tired or things like that. So that will give you a gauge of when they do something, why are they doing that? Like, why all of a sudden does somebody just do a drop shot when it looks like a really bad choice? You might have been watching them and they look like, even though they try to use up the time and try to recover, they might still be too tired to run around and play. So then they're going to do something to see if they can make this point end a lot quicker, so that then they can get another rest. And of course, they would have to choose to do this at a time where they feel like losing that point is not going to hurt them too much. So for example, if the other person is 40 love up, they might do it then, and then the game gets over because they didn't feel from 40 love that they had a good chance to win that game. So they'll give that one so they can have a rest and didn't have to expend much energy during that point before they need to serve. So these are all the really interesting things to look at when you're watching the professional tennis players. Of course, there's doubles as well, and there's a huge number of different things that's happening there, because you've got 4 different people and you've got people positioned at net. We'll try to keep this one because that's a big and involved topic, because there's so much involvement of strategy and shot selection and court positioning and teamwork and tactics in doubles. So with the singles, we've got the idea of really watching what are they doing with that. Then there's also a really important thing would be the timing of when they do things. So when the players are playing, it's really important to for yourself when you're playing matches and when you're teaching people to do a lot better in a match, is that when you're watching the players, it's important to try to see, if you're watching a lot of matches like I've been doing for years, watching loads and loads of matches and tournaments every year for many years, looking at what can I see, how can I find something where it shows that, from time and time again, that players have a higher likelihood of losing when they do this. Players have a far higher chance of winning when they do that. So then when you're looking at the play, the timing of that would be, for example, if somebody's 40 love in the lead, they might do something like a serve and volley when they don't normally ever do that, because they're just doing this because they've got such a big lead, that they're doing something to really go forward and pressurize the other person, and also to catch them by surprise, to get an easy point to, or opportunity to get an easy point to finish off the game and have that game, and make a quick finish to that game, so then the other people feel like, well, that was over fast and now I'm serving again, so the pressure all comes back to them. So the timing of when they do things is important. When they're playing, you want to have a look at, when they're doing things, also consider about the timing of the shots. So for example, an easy idea might be when somebody is down a break point, then you might see them take a lot of power off their first serve because they don't want to play off their second serve and give the other person the opportunity to win the point. So they might stand a bit wider from the center so they can get more angle, put a bit more kick and bounce, and try to put it really high to somebody's backhand, because most people know that high backhand is not such an easy situation to deal with. So they'll try to set that up and keep the first serve in so that they're not playing out of a second and the other person has a much more aggressive mindset. Plus they're trying to drag them really far out of the court and get them on the backhand. So that in this situation, they're trying to see, because they're break point down, and if they lose this point, they're going to have a lot of trouble in the set, because they're behind a break of serve, is that they're going to be trying to see if they can do something that really makes the other person at a disadvantage, like, hey, having to play a really high backhand, being dragged really far out of the court, is playing from deeper in the court because they were expecting a first serve or a faster shot. So all these things will give time and opportunity to the serving player to have more chance to be able to save that. This is what the good choices of players would be by players will be happening, and those type of situations, the players will be more likely to be able to save that break point. So of course, then you've got, conversely, when you have a chance to break the other person's serve, is that, this is one of the interesting things that I'm always having a look at when I'm watching the matches, is in the really critical points where the game can go either way, or the set or match can go either way, what do all the players do in those situations? So a lot of times you might see players will, in an important point, they might be like, okay, I don't want to lose this point, so they'll play much more passively and they'll keep the ball more in, and they'll have more of a mindset of, I'm hoping that the other person is going to miss it, so that then I win this game by them giving an unforced error or donating the point. So of course, this type of idea of doing that is a safe way of doing it, but it's also a very unlikely way that you're going to put the other person in a really big disadvantage and make them having to do something very difficult when they have all the pressure of, if they know if they lose this point, then they've lost a set or they've lost their serve, they've lost the match because it's a match point. Trying to make sure that doing something where you're really making your other player have to do difficult things and make them feel pressure because they're getting put off the court, they're being rushed, and they're, you're getting time to be the one who's controlling the points so they feel really reactive and on the defense. These would be good ideas of what to do. But when you have a look at the games, you see many different things happening. So it's very interesting to look at how the players deal with the pressure, how they try to serve out a set, how they try to serve out for the title or for the first time to get to a semi-finals of a major tournament or the final. These type of things are what they choose to do and when is what I find really interesting, how they're mentally thinking and how they hold up under pressure. What do they try to do? Is like I've been saying for many years, is when you see the top players or whoever the players are who are playing the best and they're in really big tournaments, like for example a Grand Slam, is that what do they do when they're in the quarterfinals and the semi-finals or in the final? Because all the secrets of what they're really trying to do to win points, what they think wins points, and all the different strategies and tactics that they feel are the best, they're not going to go to these really big matches and go, all right, I'm going to make sure that I don't give away my secrets, and I'm not going to use all the things that I think work the best so that nobody else might realize and copy what I'm doing or know what I'm going to do. All the players will be going out there trying to do whatever they think is the best thing that they can do to win points, especially in these big matches, so that you have a really good opportunity to catch these type of matches all the time, like I'm always doing, and then you can really see what are they doing if you're trying to forget about trying to learn how are they swinging the racket and all this type of stuff, and you just really focus on what are they doing to try to win, and best have the best, make the better chance for themselves to be successful. What are they really doing there? Look at that really closely and have a look, because they're basically showing everybody their secrets of what they think is the best thing to do. And by watching this, you have a good insight into where all the players are thinking about doing and winning the points. So of course, when you're watching the TV, it's really easy to have a favorite player that you really want to win, and you follow them, and you're much more obsessed on what the score is and are they winning, and that's good too. But if you're looking at it from a learning position or a way of seeing things that you can teach, then it's much better to be impartial to the players and be really just interested in the tennis. So when everybody asks me who's my favorite player, seeing as I love tennis so much and I'm watching it all the time and I'm going whenever I can, is that when I say that I have no favorite tennis player, my favorite tennis players are my students, then they're really, really confused. It's like, how do you watch so much tennis and then you don't even really have one that you like or follow, that you want to win? So for me, it's like I said, it's the interesting part is about what people are doing this decade, last decade, what they may do in future, all the things to see what's happening on the court, how they deal with pressure, all the things that get used to win points. For me, it's interesting to see all this type of stuff happen there. So I can watch everybody play and enjoy it, and it's not a bother for me which person wins and loses. It's much more about really having a look at all the things that happen and when the important games are on, what's happening there, what are they trying to do when they serve out for a set. This is the things that really interest me, and that of course that I'm using to help people to better convert games and sets and matches when they play. So the main thing is to make sure when you're there and you're going to watch professional tennis, whether it's live, which is fantastic. If you ever have a chance to go and see it live, you should definitely go and see it live. Or if you're watching it from from afar and you're watching it online or on the TV, etc., then try to think of these type of tips where you're forgetting about thinking of, hey, what can I copy from how they do their shots, or how do they do their shot? Because the movements happen so fast, it's really like optical illusion. Most of the things, if I ask people, what do you feel they do if you watch, it's not really that accurate in what's really happening. But instead, you want to have a look at these things that I've mentioned to you. Okay, I'm really interested to see what you, why and what you look at and enjoy watching when you're watching the professional tennis. So leave a comment and I'll answer all those. And make sure whenever you get a chance, you try to watch the tennis in this new, better way to make it useful for yourself to have some questions for your coach or some things to try and learn from the court, so that of course you can try to become a better player too. If you like this video, please subscribe to my tennis YouTube channel so that you can get a notification by email each time a new video is uploaded. Also, don't forget to share this video with your friends so they can enjoy their tennis too.